Hey, welcome to Enhanced Smart Skills. So that huge telecom testing interview is coming up, right? Maybe even tomorrow. And if you're feeling that pressure build, you are definitely not alone. But guess what? We're going to flip that script. Today, we're turning that anxiety into pure, unshakable confidence.
Yeah, feeling the heat is totally normal. I mean, who wouldn't be? But what if you could take all that nervous energy and actually use it to your advantage, to deliver an absolutely standout performance? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do today. Let's dive right in.
Think of this as your personal guide for this interview. We're going to walk through the questions you're almost guaranteed to hear, and more importantly, we'll break down how to give the perfect answer. By the end, you'll have a solid framework to absolutely ace it. All right, first up, let's tackle the big one, the question that really sets the tone for the entire conversation. This is your moment to show them, right, from the very beginning, that you've got the core technical chops. Now, a question like this can feel a little overwhelming, right? Like, where do you even start? The key is to have a structured, comprehensive answer ready to go, one that shows you really get the big picture. So, let's build that killer answer step by step.
Okay, this right here, this is your cheat sheet for a fantastic answer. Now, the trick is not to just rattle off these names. No, you've got to explain why each one is so critical. So, for example, when you bring up performance testing, you can say something like, in telecom, a half-second delay isn't just an annoyance. It could be a dropped 911 call or a lost customer. See the difference? And when you talk about security, you emphasize the massive amount of sensitive data flying around. It makes robust protection a total must-have. For interoperability, you talk about making sure all these different devices and networks can actually talk to each other seamlessly. When you connect each of these to a real-world business impact, you're not just a tester anymore, you're a strategic thinker. And that's who gets hired.
So, you've totally nailed the what you test. Awesome. But now it's time for the how. The interviewer wants to see that you get the whole process, from start to finish. This is where you show off your discipline and your real-world experience.
You know, this question is really an invitation to tell a story. The story of a project that's managed well. What you're really doing is showing them you can think systematically, from A to Z. So here's that story laid out in 5 clear steps. And again, the secret sauce here is not just listing them, it's about showing how they all connect. You can explain how a really solid requirement analysis at the beginning makes for a much smarter test plan. And a smarter plan means your test execution phase is focused on what actually matters. See how it flows? You're basically showing them you get the big picture, that a little planning up front saves a world of hurt later on. When you explain it like that, you prove you're not just a button pusher. You're a true partner in the project's success.
All right, you've nailed the what and the how. You're already ahead of the game. But a great candidate? They go one level deeper. They explain the why. This is what separates the good from the great and really shows that strategic mind at work.
Honestly, a question like this is a gift. It's your big chance to shine. They're literally asking you to connect your technical skills to real business value. So you get to explain why all this process stuff is so incredibly important, especially in the super high-stakes world of telecom.
So, when you answer, you want to frame this whole lifecycle thing not as some boring, rigid checklist. Instead, talk about it like a powerful framework. It's what brings control to an incredibly complex process. It's what gives your team clarity, and most importantly, it's what gives the business the confidence to say, yep, this is ready, let's ship it.
And here are those business benefits in black and white. Let's break them down. Risk management, that's just a fancy way of saying we catch expensive problems before they become disasters. Traceability, that means we can connect every single test back to a business need, so nothing gets lost. It's all about accountability. Efficiency is huge. It means we're not just busy, we're busy on the right things. And all of that rolls up into the big one, quality assurance. That's the end game, right? A reliable product that people actually love to use.
Okay, let's shift gears for a second. I want to talk about a topic that will really, and I mean really, make you stand out. This is especially true if you're going for a more senior role. It's all about understanding the rules of the road, compliance.
When an interviewer asks this, they're testing something crucial, your awareness of the world outside the code. And in an industry like telecom, which is so heavily regulated, this knowledge isn't just a nice to have, it's non-negotiable. Your answer has to show you get that bigger picture.
Here's the best way to answer. You want to make a really clear distinction between 2 things, regulatory compliance and industry standards. Just think of it this way. Regulatory stuff, that's the must-dos.
These are the laws, the government rules that protect people's data and keep the company from getting into huge legal trouble. Then you have industry standards. Those are more like the should-dos, the technical rules of the road that make sure your product can actually work with everything else out there. When you can explain both of those clearly, you're proving you're a tester who thinks about the entire ecosystem, not just your little corner of it.
So let's recap. We've covered the what, the how, the why, and the rules of the road. Now let's pull all of that together into one powerful, memorable message that you can leave them with.
And this is it. This is the core idea, the big takeaway you want to leave them with. You're not just someone who finds bugs. No way. You're someone who understands why you're doing what you're doing. You get that functional testing is really about making sure the business gets what it needs. You know that a structured lifecycle is all about managing risk, and you see that compliance is about protecting everyone, the customer and the company. Simply put, you connect every single technical thing you do back to a bigger business goal.
And just one last thing. Remember, an interview is a two-way street. It's a conversation, not an interrogation. So you need to have your own thoughtful questions ready to go. Imagine asking something like, so what's the biggest quality challenge your team is wrestling with right now? A question like that, it shows you're not just looking for a paycheck. You're looking to jump in and make a real impact. You've totally got this. Now go out there and show them what you're made of.